Hello. Oh, damn it, I want to sing something as an intro. Zašto me budiš u zoru, Vranjanke mori ljubava, pusti me da se naspijem, dertovi da si razbije. There you go. Should have started with that. But it is what it is. Can't be helped, can't be helped. Hello to everyone, to Mark Englishby and Wellham Manuel and Baron Strawberry, whose stream I was on. What was it? Was it this? Oh, damn it, I've completely lost track of it. Rather recently, let's put it that way. Taliesin and chocolate waffles, hello, Nicholas Clinton, not at all suspiciously surnamed. But I don't want to get on his bad side. And just as I am being snarky, he sends in $10 super chat saying, glad to see you, Posh. Thank you very much, Nicholas. Highly appreciated. Hello, Liz Antoinette. Whom did I see recently struggle with the OI? Druže Tito miti se kunem. Tatiana trying to start a fight with all of this communist nonsense. Where's the comedy? It's coming. It has to have an element of unpredictability. You know? I'm not going to telegraph it like, in 3 minutes, I'll be saying a joke. So, Druže Tito miti se kunem means, Comrade Tito, we swear to you, swear allegiance to you, whatever it is. And if you know who Tito is, then that you'll understand why I'm saying communist nonsense. Was communism God's punishment on Eastern Europeans for being a bunch of smarty pants? That's not the impression people get from being in Eastern Europe. I'll tell you that much. And if so, then why do you persist? It is a very biblical way of thinking. You know, if something happens to you, why did it happen, right? What have I done wrong? Why have I put myself in a position where this needed to happen for me to either fix something or improve something? It's not punishment per se. That's not how a Christian should think. So I wouldn't recommend that line of thinking. But definitely sometimes that's the only solution. You know, like you get either the treatment for the northern kingdom of Israel, which is complete wipeout, or you get the southern kingdom of Judah, which is slavery. It's temporary, but can be restored, as has happened, fortunately. I sort of answered very seriously to an obvious joke. Blue Skittel says based, not Tito. We don't like foreign infiltrators. You know, just your average Joe. It just so happens that he was good at fencing and playing piano, but he was a working class, we swear. Not at all a plant. Hello, Rip. I don't know what to call you now. Rekvieskat Impacem. I don't know. Don't forget to like. It would be highly appreciated. Twizzard say, what up, Posh? Well, these curtains go all the way up, so that... Jim Bob went on a 10-minute rant once I showed that picture. He sent me that package, and I was holding it, and behind me were the curtains. And sure, it's like 3.5 meters tall or something, like the walls of the rooms. And yes, the curtains go all the way up. So, is it like a hanger? Blah, 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 blah. I'm Italian. Christos anesti, alithos anesti. Randy West for $2. Very much appreciated, Randy. Says, any word from shop? I completely forgot about that. Haven't heard from your twin. Exactly. Oh, the amount of effort that both Andrew and Jim Bob go for jokes is honestly impressive, and pays off very well. But I have to say, it's very impressive. People likes to rant often. Yeah, Jim Bob likes to rant often. He's a natural at it. I do also like to rant, but I lack the raw energy required for it. So it has to build up for a while before I can actually do anything about it. Can you defend this is from Georgi Dimitrievich. Can you defend hypothetical? Is hypothetical in any way possible? Hypothetical is hypocritical. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. See, I've been out of it for a couple of weeks, and I'm illiterate now. Becoming an American, no. Hypothetical is hypocritical is a stupid thing. I've heard Muslims use it, or was it? Oh no, it was that Watson fellow, wasn't it? Yeah, that's why I thought Muslim, because he was with that what are they called? The duo. Fresh and Fit, yes. I can't defend it. Right? Sure, hypothetical is hypocritical. No, hypothetical is hypothetical, as I read it at first, because the point is to plan something for the future. So if you say, oh, but that didn't manifest, so it's hypocritical, no. You can use hypotheticals hypocritically or surreptitiously. You can try to gaslight people by means of constantly that you see that from ideologues all the time. Well, what if that happens? What if we lower taxes by 1% and then this one child doesn't get money for medicine or something? So you can't lower taxes anytime, as if that means, like, if I can think of a way things can go wrong, then we shouldn't do it. Never, like, for anything. Then you can say, okay, hypothetical can be hypocritical, but I cannot defend it. Hypothetical is hypocritical. I'm honestly, since I wanted to touch on this, we keep getting, I think, on a bi-weekly basis, we are getting new zodiacs for men. Like I said previously, like I wasn't radicalized into thinking, women were a bit mad, but then lay off on that. No, I was radicalized into thinking, oh God, men aren't much better, are we? As a demographic. All the things they do, like that Wes Watson is a prime example of it. Like, he charges people to yell at them, and sure, it's sort of like with the OnlyFans, women. Like, sure, you can say she's absolutely pathetic because she is, but how much more pathetic are the people paying for it, paying money to have like text exchanges through whatever means? And obviously those are men replying. Andrew and Tristan Tate brag about the fact that they have a system of calibrating penis pictures, let's call them that, and it's a whole network of men whose entire job is to pretend to be these OnlyFans creators. Perhaps it's not necessarily OnlyFans, it can be some Instagram model, so like a soft core whore. I don't know. I don't know. It's all so bloody tiring and troublesome. But I can't believe things like that happen. I posted a photo of myself standing in front of the doors of a cathedral, and now everyone thinks I'm an elf. I don't trust moose limbs. Moose limbs, that's a good one. Before I forget, since you mentioned moose limbs, I plan on 2 streams in the very near future. One is a general stream on apologetics against Islam. So it's going to be only a couple of hours getting these broader points across, introducing people to the basics. Obviously, things go way deeper, but something that's sufficient for your everyday interaction. You're not going to get very deep into theology with a regular person. You'd have to go with someone who's a scholar or something, or at least highly interested in these topics. But that's the first stream. The second stream is I'm going to collect the funniest beliefs, the funniest beliefs in Islam, similar to the one that apostate prophet told Jay, that when Shaitan hears Muslims pray, he is enraged and overcome with fear. He starts running, and then as he is running, he farts so that he doesn't hear the prayer. So I'm going to collect those types of beliefs, do a stream on it, and Jim Bob will be on. He won't know the exact things we will cover, and I'll ask Andrew to be on. I haven't asked him yet. Jim Bob is confirmed, but since I don't know still when I'm going to do it, probably the first stream on next Tuesday, like the general apologetic stream against Islam. And then after that, we will have to see how we can arrange it, who's available when, and have the 3 of us, I think, are a good mix of people to have fun with those topics. So it will be mostly humorous, but it's actual beliefs. Like, I won't go into, there's like 5 people in this sect who believe X, so Islam is retarded. No, we will go for actual common teachings, and I will arrange them from the least reliable all the way to from the Quran, things that can't be denied. Sort of like lawyers do, when presenting a case. So that's going to be fun. If Andrew can't make it, then it will be just me and Jim Bob, etc. So that's in the works for the next couple of weeks. So, and let me see what people are saying. I would pay to have Posh yell at me in Serbian there. Liz, I have to say, I've been told similar things by women, but I know you're joking and stuff. And it's honestly, it was one of the most, it would be so hot if you yelled at me. And it's one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever heard in my life. I was depressed. No. First of all, I don't like yelling. Second of all, those are, speaking of communism, those are some massive red flags. Just to clarify, I'm not saying Liz is saying anything in that light. There was an opportunity there to let him see, maybe, not sure. Okay, sorry, I missed the previous one. Well, Emmanuel says, later on that F&F event, when a kid was asking something, the West dude said something like, what are you going to use that money for? What's the purpose? That is the important thing. Yeah, leave everything open-ended. That's the most common scamming trick ever. Try to be as inconcise as possible, but at the same time, make it seem like you're leading them in an actual direction. So just throw out platitudes, throw out common talking points. You need to invest in cars. Like, why? It's so stupid. Like, those sports cars. I understand people have passions. I've never been interested in cars. It's, for me, a mode of transport. And if they're not just ugly, I'm happy with them. I'm much more concerned with performance. But buying sports cars is ridiculous. Like, first of all, you're only going to drive them in a enclosed, isolated environment to reach speeds, which they can. So he rants about video games. At least those are fun, and I can sit home and not waste money on petrol on these gas guzzling cars to pretend like I'm doing something. It's pointless and completely fruitless, right? Very sterile. Port out, starboard home. We're a landlocked country. We don't have those types of nautical terminologies. Posh, šta misliš o papi Bartolomeju Fenerskom? So I know you're using Google Translate because it would be Bartolomeo with a V, not Bartolomeo. Not a fan. God didn't let him. He has a worse beard than I do. God is not happy with the leadership in the ecumenical patriarchate. Have you seen the Serbian patriarch? Massive beard. So, yeah, like all of those things about the schism in Ukraine and the UOC and COU, I believe the fake one is called. Obvious intelligence, subterfuge of the church. It's not to be unexpected. It's sad that it happens, but people have to fight through it. And there has, I don't know, it makes me depressed to talk about it. Jay has done plenty on the topic. I have nothing to add to that because I learn a lot from watching his streams on it. But I'm not also into histrionics, so I won't exaggerate. Evil is so bland most of the time. Those should be made into cartoons. I don't know what I said that should be made into cartoons. Who is this speaking? I don't know. I might be AI generated for all you know, because everything is being AI generated. Nicholas Clinton, for an additional $5, thank you very much. Would you do a collab with Jeem regarding Islam, New Age, atheism? I think it would be interesting to hear y'all interact. Because you use dollars, I know you're not a non-American using y'all, which is very important. Like, all the rich people started using y'all. It reminds me of all the, like in Britain, all the actually posh kids who, not posh as kids, but actually posh kids who try to pretend to have a working class accent, and it's just mangled. In the Labour Party conferences, say comrades, and people start to say comrades. But people are doing that with y'all. Would I collab with Jim? Absolutely. He was debating Adam Green, the great mind of our times, and you can see that Jim is very calm and collected, which is very difficult to do with Adam Green. So I'm not saying it to contrast it with David Patrick Harry, who lost his cool. You can't. I debated Adam Green. I know how frustrating it is. But as I said, my lack of rage is not a result of some great spiritual growth into patience. It's just I become despondent and despair of the fact that why do you have freedom of speech? You should be institutionalized, or at least receive some type of social benefits for the mentally infirm. Your Bogatis. Do you Bogatis? I can do a decent Andrew Tate impression, but I'll have to practice it. He also has some type of mangled accent. Utter rubbish. Shave your arms, but as I said, people wouldn't know the difference if I shaved my arms. Like, look, if I didn't have dark hair, they wouldn't be noticeable. You can also support Posh. Yes, thank you, Liz. Thank you very much. You never fail to remind people, even if I do. So you can support via PayPal. I won't say PayPal again. If you are inclined to do so. Bugatti. Jean's debate with Synth was good. I didn't watch that one. Thank you, Taliesin. That would be a good one to look into. Synth, I'm not particularly impressed by him. He's very quick-witted, but also rather dim-witted. If you remember the panel debate we had with the vegan fellows, vegan gains, me, Jim Bob, and the guy who is like that DJ who was the role model for the Kuma meme, against vegan gains, Synth, and another guy. If you remember, when I gave that and I did a whole stream on the spice thing, do you put spice in food? Yes. Why? Because it tastes better. And I said, why would you endanger all of these animals, like take their lands? Imagine if vegans started calling like these bugs like the indigenous ants. Whether there's a farm now. The native ants. Oh, that would have been glorious. Is Bugatti like bug spaghetti or something? Eats a Bugatti. No more Eggman in a funny suit to lead the WEF. And I complained about the fact that you have to give us someone who looks legitimately evil. Like, he looks too ridiculous, which I know is great for making it seem harmless. I think that's part of George W. Bush's, play. No anything. You put food on your family. Right. You pretend to be an idiot, and it's very disarming. And with Klaus being dressed like I said, like he robbed a Red Cross stockpile for Halloween. It's disarming because you think, really, this? But yeah, sort of like how, and Jay again talked about that. It's a very common tactic in propaganda to make propaganda seem stupid. It's disarming. It lulls you into a sense of security, like, oh, I can predict the next move, etc., etc. But no, that's Nicholas Clinton for an additional $10 just to round it off. Very much appreciated. This is how you can earn money from OCD. Third time's the charm. They say that if you're afraid of homosexuals, it means that deep down inside you're actually a homosexual yourself. That worries me because I'm afraid of dogs. Yeah. That's also something that's very common nowadays. Like, oh, you're a homophobe. That means you secretly want to have sex with. Psychology, honestly, is so infuriating to me. As Jimmy Dore, the only leftist I can watch, he is so impressed with Jung and constantly keeps saying, It's because they hate Trump because Trump lives in their shadow. And then puts together that face. He's also Irish, which, there's only so much anger I can muster against him. But, you can do that with anything. You can do that also with the cui bono, which I think is the most abused thing ever. Like, follow the money. Like, that's lots of people exploit any type of, or rather excuse any type of system by saying, well, this is this other system subverting it. Every time you talk to commies, oh, it would have worked if only there weren't CIA, funded death squads. We would have done everything right. I know they wouldn't, and they have their own death squad. So, and then on the other side, oh no, if we don't give all power to corporations, we're all going to be going to gulags. Again, very common form of propaganda and population control. Just trot out this other system, which you also control, but have one group fear the other group, and you can justify anything by it. And I thought we were all Meg Griffin, or at least people are apparently becoming Meg Griffin. If you know that scene when she met a guy and she finds like a half decomposed corpse of a guy and brings out like a picnic basket and sits next to him, and there's like flies buzzing about him, and says, oh, you're such a great listener. And then a wolf comes out, bites one of his legs off, or arms, I don't know. Says, you're so good with animals. Everyone appears to be doing that now. So great. Everything's fun, isn't it? What would black ants be called? Blants. Can't say most of the things I want to. Would you throw your hat in the race for chairman of the WEF? No. Be surrounded by French people? No, thank you. I'm an arachnophobe. Yeah, there's a meme for that. With the conclusion you were inferring, I believe. All Norm MacDonald joke. Oh, yeah. D. Sims is here. Oi, oi. What's this then? You must have enjoyed Jim Bob's recent rant on redheads, D. Sims. Mud for $5 United States dollars. Thank you very much, Mud. Says, did your generator run out of fuel, or maybe your goats chewed through the internet cable? Either way, I'm glad you've got service back in the mountains. I am in a rather mountainous region of the country. Well, technically, a large part of the country is mountainous. You've got the Dinarids, and then down here you've got all sorts of hills and mountains. But it wasn't too much of a technical thing. I was trying to organize a plan for how to make things work and have them organized properly, because I'm one of those people, and I'm certain some of you are as well, a lazy perfectionist. I barely get myself to do something, that's not particularly productive, sort of preparatory. And then I finish it, and then this could be better. And so things take off. Now I've taken the time to organize my thoughts and a plan for the Latin lessons, which will be on Thursdays, starting with this Thursday. And I might have to move my setup to a different room, which would mean that the doily curtain will not be in focus. I'm sorry about that, but that's not immediately my concern. But that's just what's coming in the future. I'll go into a bit more details later on. Bosch is so good with ants. Okay, I don't now the money, okay, probably no. I don't know the money the National Democracy Endowment money gives foreign governments is subversive. Pim Oros, that's a bit mangled, and I think I understand what you're trying to say. The National Endowment for Democracy, I think, is the name of it. Yeah, it is extremely subversive, like those grants and everything, but it's free market, it's private, so you know it's trustworthy. That's what Michael Malice tells me. You missed. Oh no, you have to check it out, D-Sims. He even had a poll. Are you immediately disgusted when you see one? Oh god. Posh, objectively subjective, says, we made it through Lent. Well, praise God for that. It takes a lot of work. Baptized on Holy Saturday, enjoyed our first Pascha as Orthodox Christians. Then on Thomas Sunday, my wife and I were married in our church. All glory to God. I will pose that comment. Glory be to God. That's again, it wasn't too long ago that actually, like 2 streams ago for me was like a year. Not too long ago, I remember you said about catechesis, entering catechesis. So that's just glorious. Both the baptism and marriage, so things falling in order. Wonderful. That I started off this stream very poorly predisposed. Now I'm in a rather good mood. You won't see much of a difference in the way I talk because I'm a curmudgeon, but that can't be helped. Christian Kreuz, that's a good name. Literally Christian Cross. Ich bin Christian Kreuz und das ist mein Christian Kreuz. I mean, what would it be in German? Christliche? but it ruins the joke, so. No, Porsche, you need to be doily maxing. Doily maxing. Danke, du bist willkommen. Objectively, so, well, big congratulations. Yes, Liz, this is a great way to start off the return to streaming. Moldy Apple says, good to see you all. Good to see you, Moldy Apple, which I don't say to actual moldy apples unless they're being prepared for schnapps, or as we call it, rakia. Rakia, if you want to be a fancy boy. Mud for another $5 says, I totally understand. I'm sure it's time-consuming carrying water in buckets from the local creek. I'll start a GoFundMe so we can get you a moped. Oh, God, mopeds. 240 pounds on a moped, not a good look. I mean, a moped is never a good look, but that's just asking for evil things to happen. So I poured a beer and didn't even start drinking. It did more than half an hour. So doily maxing sounds like an HGTV show. I don't know what HGTV is. History grenade television. Doomadoxy. Just called being Eastern European. In Eastern Europe, you have, as I said, 3 emotions, like pure ecstatic joy, melancholy, and rage. That's the 3 you need. No point in it. History grammar TV. The blackest man in Serbia is back. Blackest man in Serbia. Silver Tongue Cavalier, I think I should pronounce it Cavalier, for $5 USD says, would you talk to the machine lies about Bible interpretation, occultism, technology, etc.? Certainly. for a while we were talking about arranging a debate on St. Paul and his epistles. So maybe that's something, if Andrew is something Andrew might be willing to arrange, although there haven't been many non-Andrew debates recently. There have been some, so he's getting back into it. He has experienced monumental growth. Rachel was on Tim Cast IRL. So cheers to the Wilsons. Very impressive in a pretty short period of time, like exponential growth. Praise be to God again for such things. As a man, I have one emotion: hunger. I don't actually eat a lot. I'm one of those people who eats to live, not lives to eat. That discussion would be hilarious. Yeah, I hope it can be fun. So I don't know. Someone can message me, or you can email me at aposhredneck@gmail.com. If you are Cavalier, if you are closely connected to him, or one of his mods or something, you can send me an email or tell him to send me an email. We can arrange something. I don't think Andrew would let him back on the Crucible. No. The Crucible is the Andrew show now. Even when it isn't, when he's not the one debating, he makes it his own. He's a natural at being a presenter. So, people have their talents. The 3 Eastern European emotions. Woo! And I'm not going to produce an angry sound. Well, that Gene debate with Adam Green was rather recent. It wasn't Andrew hosting. I can't remember who was hosting now. Posh, where is my pan-Euro-poor debate? Well, I don't know. Weren't you supposed to be in seminary or something? Or am I misremembering? Because if that's being done, we're doing it on Rumble. That's going to take like 3 minutes to break. To break probably all guidelines. Kyle hosted. Yes, was it? There are multiple Kyles. So it wasn't Kyle the meme guy. It was the other Kyle, I believe. Yeah, it was a good debate. So if Andrew is interested, we can have the St. Paul debate. That redeemed Zoomer fellow was supposed to debate me on the Crucible on the topic of predeterminism, but that also failed to materialize. Pray for my grandfather to have a peaceful repose. He had his last communion yesterday. Well, Lord grant him peace and mercy and memory eternal when the time comes. It's an unfortunate set of affairs, but mortality is there to remind us that there are higher things to aim for, and I don't need to explain that to you, Doomadoxy. Oh man, that would have been a great debate. Yes, he is becoming increasingly erratic on Twitter. Calls us and the Catholics like the Constantine Church. Like, what a bloody Steven Anderson level rubbish is this? Господи помилуй. For those of you who don't know, Nikola, which is the Serbian version of Nicholas, says Gospode pomiluj, which, if you don't know, is Christ, the Lord have mercy. if you want to be to show how faithful you are, you say Gospodi pomilui, which would be like a Church Slavonic way of saying it. Then that means you're deep into theology, not at all Pharisaic. Zuma backed out. That would be good. I don't know. I haven't been given an explanation. There was just no follow through. I assume it wasn't on. I was willing. Andrew was willing, but so that leaves it. Maybe it wasn't backing out or being afraid. Maybe he just felt he wasn't prepared to. That's fine. Like, I'm not one of these people. Why are you running? Why are you running from a debate? Like Jay is running from Madam Green. Like, sure. Redeem Zuma might be a better Orthodox apologist than Jay. He's the Pope Francis of young Protestants. So this stream has been going on behind my back for 40 minutes. Shareholders United. Well, sorry, mate. I should have given you an advanced notification, but I did give like an hour and a half, which for my standards is immense. Like a whole eternity. Greater reach, maybe. I don't know. If you don't feel prepared, like the reach is actually a bad thing. Dumadoxy, I am autistic. You do need to explain it, not because I need it, but because hearing those sultry, somber Serbian tones, oh, that's great alliteration there, are what I need in this trying time. I appreciate it very much. I don't know if you heard, I was singing a bit in the beginning, so you might want to rewind that. Damn it, like, I owe multiple recordings for Shareholders United for music, and I'm being a complete arse and forgetting all the time. Zuma seems too prideful and probably fears losing much of his fan base if he were to turn towards orthodoxy. Could be, but I critiqued earlier, like, ooh, this lives in your shadow or something. Like psychologizing, I don't like psychologizing. It could be that the case, but I wouldn't guarantee it. He needs 10 years to mature, and I think he will be a good interlocutor. Perhaps, God willing, that he will grow. Your stream with Baron about big moderator Bear was gold. Oh God, that was glorious. Oh, it was Rachel. I praised you and Andrew earlier for the meteoric rise you've had in the last couple of months. And I know you were heading to whatever podcast, but I don't know what time it is. So if you could tell people what time you will be on, although probably the Crucible will publish it, but you can tell people here so they can have a general idea. Good luck. As I said in a chat, Crucible chat, when Andrew was having a remote appearance, he said, if I went on the Crucible, on the whatever podcast, I wouldn't make it through because 10 minutes in, I'll be looking for the first thing taller than me and that can withstand my weight and a short piece of rope. So good luck to you. Alhamdulillah. Here is where you give the advanced preparation for the next stream, that it will take place sometime next year. Jim Bob shoulders. No, next stream is on Tuesday. I'll be going through a couple of linguistic nonsense. I got the recommendation for like continue watching, and it was one of the streams Jay did last month. And it reminded me of the whole, Jesus means hail Zeus. So I'm going to gather a couple of those examples and explain why it's retarded. Thank you, Shareholders United, for being so Nice. Why a hiatus, Posh? Oh, here's Andrew. Well, it was a hiatus. I wasn't on anything for weeks, so hiatus is over. But no, it wasn't because a goat ate through my Ethernet cable. Okay, Rachel says 5 p.m. PST. I don't even know what PST is, but you Americans should. So she will be on the whatever podcast. People saying hello. Christ is risen. Indeed, he is risen. Posh turning whatever podcast into a snap film. No, I do it off camera. I don't like drama, so after I find myself, you can be as dramatic as you'd like. Does Posh take people up on panel? Not today. We won't be doing it today. I will have things specialized for it, but things have been going rather... People have grown rather weary of it because all types of subversions have materialized over time. Not here. I'm not a particularly influential person yet to have detractors angry at me sufficiently. Maybe after I do the streams on Islam. Posh gonna do some Crucible debates this year. Yes, Andrew. I'm more than willing. We talked about it earlier, like how the one with Redeemed Zuma didn't happen, which was a shame. But we can't force him legally. But maybe we can do the machine lies on St. Paul. That was something we were discussing quite some time ago now. And if you have your own recommendations, you know where to find me. Posh standard time. There's no standard time for me. I'm terrible with it. Why off camera? It's all content for the social media now. Well, maybe if they switch off to Rumble exclusives. I have heard some panel shenanigans have gotten pretty disturbing. Yeah. So there's a big problem with... there's a guy who deals with Islam primarily, but with other things as well, called Reasoned Answers, I think it is. He's in the David Wood orbit, right? So very much against Islam, and also friend of David Wood, so that gets you a lot of hate. And they just jump on and play porn, usually of the homosexual variety. So, yeah. People are getting pretty worked up. So yeah, I wouldn't be. I'm very cautious about it nowadays. Posh should debate Sam Shamoon to convince him of orthodoxy. Sam Shamoon is such a legend. You son of Muta, son of the devil. I don't think he would be appreciative of it. I'd be happy to work with him, but he doesn't like to be a guest on streams very often, at least. Jim Bob tried to contact him, and that's what he said. So if he wouldn't go there, far less of a chance that he would be here. Nova Prussia. New Prussia, oh god. Oh, will we get like a new Poison's Gloria? Posh, I'm thinking about starting some Doomadoxy Orthodox streams. As a simple Albanian, I'm asking for your support for the lesser. Can't bless the greater. If you're willing, if you want to collab or something, Doomadoxy, you know where to find me. So always happy. Or if you need me to share something, of course, freedom or death. It's orthodoxy or death, but orthodoxy is the only true freedom. Where did Posh learn English? His language skills are excellent. Well, I've got a natural knack for languages, which always helps. It's sort of like people who have perfect pitch hearing. It's almost annoying knowing how easy it is for them. But nowhere special. I learned it in school, started at age 9. At age 11, we got French, and then Latin in high school. And in the meantime, I did a lot of studying on my own. It's so easy to find books. And once you get a hang of learning languages, every next one is easier. Not necessarily. I mean, you can shift a completely different language, but I'm saying even if you want to learn Mandarin after learning 5, it will be easier to learn Mandarin then than if you've ever learned 2. Because you start developing these muscles and you start thinking in that language that you've learned, so you don't have this rigid unilingual approach to things. So you get a lot of horizontal escalation, as it's referred to as in geopolitics. So I'm afraid just school and then video games and nerding out privately. Crazy Orthodox Americans and Crazy Orthodox have more in common than the gay commie Europeans. Yeah, Europe. I don't know where. Here's Christian Kreutz. I've heard that topping the charts in Germany is Ausländer raus, which means Outlanders out. So, I don't know. There'll be different songs coming back from Germany, maybe not just Preußen's Gloria. Ones I can't sing. I know them. I know a lot of nationalist songs. I even know commie songs because they people really go hard in these ideological songs. They always make them catchy. So yeah, foreigners out, yep. Christian, how often is the insult Schweinhund used, or is that just a meme? Because it's one of the best insults ever. You pig dog. Schweinhund. Commie songs are brutal. Yeah. Credit where it's due. Careful, Nova Prussia. We don't want to go against community guidelines. I understand the enthusiasm. Deutschland, Deutschland. It's not used commonly anymore. Damn it. You know what? Okay, I'm not going to say it. It's used. And it's a great shame now that I think about it. Yeah, it's honestly one of the greatest insults ever. It's got everything a good insult needs. If you think about it, and this is a linguistic fact, when you try to find good insults, and I'm not talking about good rhetorical insults, because you can. What was Peter Hitchens's bourgeois bohemian metropolitan trendies? Like, I'm not talking about that type of insult, but like a cuss word. It needs a lot of those poppy, so to speak, explosive consonants, the bilabials, like a P and a D. P and a B, but it needs to pop, like bastard. And they're usually monosyllabic, but can be polysyllabic, like I said, bastard, that's 2 syllables. But at the same time, they have to have a certain phonetic quality for them to work, because it really helps you explore that anger. I mean, exprime that anger. Nein, du gehst raus, Dr. Crispy. Böse tun? That means repent, Yankee scum. Dr. Crispy isn't particularly a Yankee. Du machst Mist, Schweinhund. Things are going in a certain direction in the chat. General von Steuben, Prussian monarch, helps y'all us back then in the day. Greek German American checking in. Greek German American. Are you related to Eric Metaxas? I hope not. He's very annoying. Okay, Blue Skittel, which I will now, for no reason, just pronounce Skittel. It wouldn't be spelled Skittel if it was Skittel, but appreciate Jimbo putting a posh magnet in his new book, although as an Irishman, putting on my fridge felt like a humiliation ritual. Thank you for the $10 donations. Well, you can always say, well, at least I'm not as fat as this bastard. I hear Russian profanity is the most vulgar. What I've heard is that Romanians are very good at profanity, but we need Vampire Frog here to confirm that. Pure bezbožný, godless dog. That's a good one. In Serbia, we would say pas bezbožný. So very similar. Is pjos dog actually? Or am I just making a phonic fallacy error? Arabs can curse in one endless string. It's kind of hilarious. Not that familiar with it, but it's a good language to cuss in. Sabaka. Okay, yeah. I knew there was one that starts with an S, but I couldn't remember it. In Greek, it's skilos, so it's I thought, am I confusing it with Greek? But yes, sabaka. Thank you, Super Rika, for the reminder. Just 4 words modified for every circumstance. Well, the way Semitic languages work, that's a proper, with the whole stem with 3 consonants, you can do a lot with it. I don't know if that's how it works. I'm just giving a guess. Romania swear kids probably could cuss with the best of them. Well, I don't know if you're a reliable critic of, or even maybe not a critic, but evaluator of Romanians because of that Hungarian spelling. A Russian guy said that our verbs, nouns, etc. all profane. He said he could speak entire sentences in profanity. Yeah, we can in Serbia as well, especially us in the south. And it becomes so ridiculous that nothing makes sense, and no one can understand you. Like if you go like 50 kilometers north. Those gay Athenians created y'all's democracy. Not exactly. At least that's not how democracy worked then. It's been completely ruined because what constitutes the demos is what constitutes or predicts how a democracy goes. So if the people are the citizenry, as it would be in Rome, it works completely differently from universal suffrage democracy. Pius is the older one and sometimes used for big dogs. Sabachka is more common and of Turkic origin. Okay. No, we say pas. So that's how I got it. Our beloved democracy. The only democracy I care is in the Middle East. To get to the highest entertainment, leave this chat needs at least one Turk. Doomadoxy, can you substitute? Grand. How grand that we are starting Ethno-Wars. Ich habe Dr. Crispi keine Ursache. I've heard, or at least read, I read it, that the easiest way a German can recognize a non-native speaker is how the person pronounces the CH, Ursache. Because there's a whole thing of, oh, bloody hell, sorry. I'm bloody dying here. Adios, muchachos. Thanks, Bosch Redskin, Scottish ontology. Are you calling me Scottish? I drink, I don't do heroin. They turn red too under the sun. Meras Alexandros. Okay, adios, Nova Prussia. Okay, so as I said, the CH in German. So if you say something like ich, meaning me or I used to say ish because I heard it in Rammstein songs. But turns out that's like a dialect thing. And my one of my granduncles, who was a German speaker, said, "You're not shooing chickens because in Serbia you say ish to like shoo away chickens. You're saying ich." So it depends on the preceding vowel. So if you've got a hard vowel, like in this case an A, it would be Urzach, like you're trying to spit on someone. Yeah, that did a number on my. Oh, that's why I can't speak. I've been throwing in Kreuz and for the entire bloody stream. Isn't Bavarian very different from other parts? Oh yes. Well, Germany is pretty big in terms of how different a language gets in the old world. Right, in America, not so much, although we obviously have like parochial accents, like very famously the Appalachian one. Like you can't say an Appalachian and someone from Boston. Is it Bostonian or a resident of Boston? Like obviously not the same thing. But in Europe, like 2 towns over, you can't understand people. But Bavarian, again, very, very different from what you would call Hochdeutsch. And Christian Kreuz praises my sound. Thank you very much. I remember the first time I learned to say the R, like Kreuz, that I had to learn it for French, not German. It wasn't a fun experience. An R is one of the most common speech impediments people have, like across the board. Especially the rolling one, like people find that. Some people find that quite difficult to pronounce. Okay. Nova Prussia is like a couple of beers ahead of me, or because he's Greek German, he might go for the ouzo, might not go for the beer. But yeah, that's what I read in this. It was like a giant German to Serbian Wörterbuch, which is to say a dictionary. Ham sandwich. Liz Antoinette says, quote of the week. I drink, I don't do heroin. We should add, I'm not Scottish, comma, I drink, I don't do heroin. I'm Orthodox first, German second. Yeah, it has to be that way. Like the only proper ethnogenetic factor is religion. Of Riek gekommen. Oh, if you speak Dutch in my chat, D-Sims, by Allah, I will punish you. We see your smoke quitting has been quite successful. Listen. Don't make me go into a Protestant mode and start talking about how you're judgmental. It's like the something or something else in Georgian. I've never learned Georgian. I find the script beautiful, but I have to. Mashallah, I will stop. I have to, at some point, invest some time into at least learning how to read it. So yeah, fun stuff. Took me 5 tries to quit. Hardest thing I've ever quit. Oof. Lionheart Psychology. Thank you for the encouragement that it's possible. No true Scotsman fallacy. It's the only time it's not a fallacy. No true Scotsman doesn't OD on heroin. I've been given, the Irish such a rubbing. It's only fair to go at the actually more ginger people. Because everyone thinks of the Irish as being ginger. No, the really ginger people are the Scots. And we have Irishmen in the chat who can confirm that. So, Georgian alphabet script is misleadingly cute. Yeah, it looks like one of those when we first got, computers and you start learning Microsoft Word, and then there's all those symbols like, oh, we can write secret messages and stuff, and you never do, but it's fun to think about. Scots have the highest percentage, yes. I think there's a Blackadder short. He's a Roman on Hadrian's Wall. What's that giant red hedge doing advancing towards us? Red hedge. Deep fried heroin. Oh, that's glorious. Standout deviations. Deep fried heroin. Like, or crack, because you can have it as a ball. Nobody is more racist to various whites than Posh. Well, I'm a European. Whom am I going to be racist towards? Oh, right. We have the gypsies. So, yeah, but that's like the only unifying factor for all Europeans. I remember this distinction. You are the one who made that comment, but Baron Strawberry actually he found it weird that we mentioned something about Portugal, and I somehow got on an entire rant about the Spanish. So they're bloody Spaniards. Even they hate themselves so much. Even their leisure time is spent trying to die by stabbing bulls and running away from them. He was like, how do you get all of that? Where does all of this reside in you? And I don't know. As long as you're not using seed oils to deep fry heroin, well, well, Emmanuel, you try convincing the Scots to use a more expensive oil. Good luck. This is good. This is good. We'll leave more broad ranting to Jim Bob, and when it comes to particulars, that's when I'll jump in. So he can take the redheads in general, the gingers, and I'll take the particulars. It's not just the racism I enjoy, it's the nuance. Yeah, it has to be accurate. If it's not accurate, you're just being an ass. If it's accurate, that means, that meme, learning French so I can refuse to speak it instead of just not being able to. Poshlay's claim on the autistic ranting. Yeah, yep. I do take pride in what I do. Portuguese women, I don't know. I've always liked fair skin, which is not that common. I find people do like tan skin and stuff, but that's just me. I don't know, like Spanish women I've never found particularly attractive. I don't know about the Portuguese. So, but that's a matter of preferences and taste. Portuguese women have moustaches. Well, they've got bigger moustaches than I do, but that says very little. This is the size of a Portuguese woman's moustache when she is like first, second year of puberty. Love, why you do and you'll never work a day. Oh, love what you do. I assume you meant Blue Skittel. You'll never work a day in your life. Yes. All your masculinity points went to your voice. That's what I say, D-Sims. That's what I always say. Spent all of the, in character construction, I spent all of them on the voice. I'm 6'1", so I didn't end up short, but that's good. Why does every time I stream without a particular topic end me being an ass to people? At least much more so than when I'm more focused. Imagine the opposite, though, someone with a massive moustache and a squeaky voice. End up short in Serbia is like 185 centimeters. That's my height. So yeah, I'm average height in Serbia, but so I didn't say I ended up tall. I said I didn't end up short. I'm right there. Still shorter than your country's women. I don't know who said Posh never fails to mention his country's Amazons. So yeah, or Amazonians. Sorry. Yeah, to be honest. I won't get into it now because I will be just proving your point, and I refuse to. Bloody hell. So yeah, it's very fun. I don't know what else it is. Oh, let's clear up like the plans for the future first before getting. I have more time, so we can be a bit more mad. But as I said, Latin lessons will be once a week on Thursdays. I have a plan set out for it, not going too hard on it because most of you actually have jobs and stuff, have children to take care of, so you can't devote a lot of time to it. And I'd rather go at a pace people can handle, or at least as many people as I think can handle. But also, if I do it like twice, what's the bloody word I'm looking for? Like every fortnight, then you will have too much space between and time between the lectures, and you will lose interest. it won't connect as well. It won't be a flow of information. I know this from how I teach myself languages, and that's how I learned to read sheet music properly and things like that. So I think once a week is great, especially because many of you, actually not many of you, the vast majority of you are native English speakers, but you are English speakers, which is pretty different from Latin, how Latin operates. So you will need to ease into it. It was much easier for me as a Serb. As I said, you have no grammatical cases in English aside from in personal pronouns, I, me. You don't even have the second person plural and singular. It's just you in modern English, but you have he, him, she, her, it, I suppose, we, us, and they, them. Right, that's about as much as you get. So until you can properly start thinking in a manner that takes 6 grammatical cases, Serbian has 7. So I actually had to, it was a downgrade in difficulty for me. But for you, it will be, rather difficult. And when it comes to languages, you need to front load it. You need to invest massively at the beginning because the payoff is much greater later on. You don't want to, I've made the mistake a couple of times, not enough investment and practice with the basics. And then when you get into the actual language, which as it operates has a lot of exceptions, because languages are a living system, they're not like mathematics, an enclosed system. Then you get to the particularities and all of a sudden you don't know what to do, start calculating things, and you can't calculate things if you want to be proficient in the language. You need practice. It's sort of like why you can't have, computer simulation for military training or SWAT training or whatever. You need to practice to have it as an automatic response. And that's why I hope to accomplish with a very steady but consistent pace. So on Thursday, I will teach you how to read it and give you a basic overview, how things work, why they work, and then the week after that, we will be getting into basic verbs, how verbs work in Latin, and then the week after we'll be doing nouns, and the first declination. So that's going to be those will need a lot of investment, because it will honestly take some time for you to understand as English speakers why things work this way. English is a very analytical language. It does most things through prepositions and word order. So it has a very rigid word order. The more plastica languages, like Latin, like Serbian, like Italian even, which is not as complex in how many things happen. But again, Italian, no grammatical cases. But still, with enough morphology being constantly present, certain things you can omit. You can shift around a lot more with word order for purposes of putting emphasis on words. Also helps with poetry and stuff. But that more on that on Thursday. Let's see if I've missed something so I can continue. Still in the process of learning 2 languages, don't care about learning Latin, but I will still watch. Fair enough. Don't overstretch. I did that. I was learning 5 languages at a time, and I realized I was making basically no progress in any of them. So you need to cut down to something you can afford to learn, a pace that you can learn, and you need to make it natural. All languages have certain barriers. There are, if you learn Japanese, like, you need very heavy investment in learning the kanji. The hiragana, katakana, those aren't too difficult. They're not exactly intuitive, but you can handle, like these syllables, phonetic syllables, but then you need the kanji and that's going to be purely by force, as we say, by muscle in Serbian. There isn't too much logic to it. It's convention. Kanji literally means like characters of the Han, like Chinese characters. I mean, even the hiragana and the katakana are derivatives of the Chinese writing system. But you need to invest in that. That's going to be a barrier. With Latin, you already know all the letters. You actually know more letters than there are in Latin. There's no J, there's no W. So, you're going to have that part be easier, but then other parts will be difficult. But I'm not here to intimidate you. It's against my interest to intimidate you from trying to learn it. But I don't want to. I hate it when people give people too much optimism just to see it crushed, because learning languages, as difficult as it is, learning a language that's not very closely related to the ones you know, and then it's also an ancient language, meaning it didn't go through all the simplifications that languages tend to go through. So, I don't know. I'm starting to sound like Bill Burr. I don't know. You'll see starting Thursday. You can see at least the reading will be easy, and then you can be a complete arse and a prick by saying things. You will no longer have to say etc. You can say etc., which I wouldn't recommend doing, but you can. Why Latin, though? Are we going to proofread Vatican documents or something? No, I think it's just the most fun one I can do, and it's really fun to explore ancient languages. Greek is far more difficult, in my personal estimate. And I have a lot more experience with Latin because I had it for 2 years in high school and 1 year back in university. So I have a lot more formal training in it. I mean, I can teach French if you'd like. It's just going to make people want to stab me. And then we can have superior Latin to the Latin Church and flex on them. My scatterbrain can barely handle 2 languages at once, sadly. Fair enough. Maybe just learn to read it and some basics, like the first couple of lectures, which would at least can be fun to read and pronounce things like rest in peace, in Latin, and, ad hoc. Well, actually, just say ad hoc, so that's not going to change much, is it? But you can say lapsus lingua, lapsus calami, lapsus memoria. You didn't say ad hominem, you say ad hominem. And the famous one I bring up with Jacob Rees-Mogg, Nemo judex in causa sua, which I literally couldn't understand a word of until I de-anglicized it back into proper Latin. It's Nemo judex in causa sua. Yes, Dr. Crispy Rochelle, etc. If you want to be a fancy person, you say etc. But after that, you will never ever feel tempted to say, what do they say, etc. Because it will just be spelled out. Yeah, and things like NB, nota bene, and stuff like dum spiro spero is all I know. Dum spiro spero, for those of you who don't know, means while I breathe, I hope. It's one of those, like, hope springs eternal, things like that, similar to that. You can have cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. See? Am I enticing you into dedicating hours of your life into learning a dead language. No wonder the Roman Empire fell. They couldn't get a W. Well done. Well done. Glorious, glorious. Yes. Dicem se Spiritus Sanctus. Yeah. You see, here's the thing. I was thinking, can I get some prayers going? You know, as one of the most common things you do when you learn a language is sentence analysis. So you have a sentence and then you break it into parts. Okay, what is this function? What is its syntactic function or semantic value, and etc. You know, morphologically, what is it? So you go through that, and I could just in nomen Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Just with that, I would have to go through 3 of the 5 declinations, and it's not even the first 3. It's like second, third, and fourth, and especially because I mentioned that because of Spiritus. Spiritus is a very peculiar noun. It's of the 4th declination, like manus. Those are a bit wonky. There aren't too many of them, but they are rather wonky. So, yeah. Made by Jim Bob is here. We are getting all of the stars tonight jumping on. Who listens to this guy when he's not drunk? I'm working on it. I'm just so talkative that I'm barely drinking. This is like my second glass. I'm not drunk, these things. That's the problem. Whoops. E pluribus unum, yeah. What's the Space Force? Semper supra. That's the one. Always above. Memento mori. Remember your mortality. That's gonna be a proper one to learn. I don't want to scare you. As you walk into it, if I just enumerate things you'll have to learn, it will seem overwhelming. Once you get a pace, it won't. It's going to be properly fun. Right. So that's, as I said, Thursday's Latin lessons. On Tuesday, as I said, I'm going to gather a couple of the examples of like the conspiracy languages, or phonic fallacies usually, but different types also, and we will analyze them properly. And then Jim Bob, I mentioned the plan to do like one stream on general apologetics against Islam, and then one where I invite you and Andrew, and we go through the funny beliefs. Like their idea of heaven is just glorious. And they flex it, you know. I saw some Muslims say, well, you get in Muslim heaven, you get pleasure and companionship and being happy, I don't know, celebrations and stuff, and Christian heaven is an eternal church service. Like, this is not the win you think it is. Again, people for a reason say that Jannah is just a heaven, just a celestial Las Vegas, and free. Lasciate ogni speranza. I don't know if that's probably Italian because of that lasciate, but I can read Italian and then speak it to an extent, but a very limited extent. I learned to read it because I had to for like singing. Non piandrai farfallone amoroso. Muslim heaven is Kuma heaven. Alhamdulillah. You get everything the devil loves. We're going to get into it. Because if you thought Islam punishes or prohibits things, like, no, it prohibits them now. You get them endlessly in Jannah, including homosexuality. But we're not giving any spoilers. Because it's going to ruin all the genuine reactions once I present it to the lads. It's one big joke. We're all going to get to the stream that is supposedly happening on Thursday, and he will start teaching Esperanto. Posh conquered Italian just to make sure his pizza gets made right. Pomodoro, which means tomato. I was shocked that tomato isn't tomato in Italian. Pomodoro? Goodness gracious. Allah is a DJ. Right. So, I don't know. That's all the immediate stuff. And then I will be continuing like analysis of words as I did. I want to do faith, right? Fide. To contrast, faith in that sense, and then the one with that you say credo, right, which is credo, which is I believe, and why fide is not this just intellectual assent to propositions, and we'll contrast it, with the derivative words, etc., etc. So that's going to be a type of stream. I can't remember what I even called the series. Goodness. It's crake in Latin. Cricus. There we go. Caramassano. Cartago delenda est. That's also going to be a difficult thing to learn, like the gerundives and the gerundival, etc. But again, you get used to it, because if you read Cartago delenda est, it seems like you're saying Carthage is destroyed, because est means is, but that's a type of that's a grammatical construct that we will discuss much later on. You need a lot of prep work to get to that point, but it basically means must be or needs to be destroyed or deleted. Delenda memoria. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Do they make any promises on the age or gender of the virgins in Jannah? No. You have a promise of, I can't remember how many thousand pearl white young boys who do not bleed. I can tell you that because that's not even funny. I was like, what? What? And you can imagine why it says who do not bleed. Don't try to make me spoil the jokes. Gracchus Maximus, yes. The leader of the Crakes. The best Latin word is for a rat. Ratus ratus. Grim. So yeah. Did I have anything important to say other than that? Probably not. I was upset over like 1,000 things, which is a general state of affairs for me. So yeah, I can't remember any particular thing right now. Weeks of prep just to know where to put is in a sentence. Oh, you are going to regret making that joke once you realize all the constructs that exist in Latin. I know that I know nothing. There's "stio se nihil stire," which is going to have to introduce like the whole accusative with the infinitive construct, and then we will learn about future and past infinitives. So I know about Gurias, but homo. Homo hominis, yeah, that's third declination. D. Sims asks, how can we support you, Posh? Still, the best way to do it is via PayPal. I almost said Paul again. PayPal. There's a link in the description. That's the best way still. Obviously, super chats. And I will open the memberships soon. On my last stream, I said I won't open memberships until I'm sure I can produce content consistently, because it's unfair. It's one thing for me to have a hiatus when no one's paying anything, but when people actually give money, that's a whole different story. Does Latin have aspect? In a sense, yes. Verbal aspects exist in most languages in some form. Like verbal aspect in Serbian is hell on earth. And if there was one thing I would give up if I wasn't Serbian and learning Serbian, it is the verbal aspect. But you learn about it, sort of. Oh, this is the first person singular, present indicative, active. All of these things you have to say. I remember back in high school days, and then all the people who needed help, and as me being one of the, local nerds, that means everyone swarms us with questions. And since I did pretty well at Latin, I got the brunt of it. So yeah, can we have a hiatus too? If you can declinate hiatus. Didn't know Posh was a fighter pilot. I'm only a fighter when sufficiently drunk. I've only ever seen headphones like that on Kazakhstani men in internet cafes shouting at their wives over Zoom. Hey, they were free, so I'm not going to complain. You don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Is it possible to get around Serbia without knowing the language? We'll probably visit Belgrade at some point to see that cathedral. Yeah, especially in Belgrade, English is going to get you through. Try not to be too Britishy about it. I remember people told me, why don't you speak normal English? I'm like, how dare you? How dare you? Nicholas Clinton with an additional $5, which is $30 in total, I believe now. Thank you so much. Says one last dono for fun. Well, that's enough fun for me. $5, I can have a proper drinking night. Howdy, am I late? Why not learn a new language? Are you asking me why I don't learn a new language? Because I do all the time. Detection. Bosch doesn't have the criminal aspect, though, so headphones are acceptable. Kazakhstani. What was the joke in Borat? #1 producer of potassium or something? I'm asking the other guy about English in Serbia. Oh, you're asking D-Sims. There are languages that are difficult, but, there's a lot of payoff for learning it, right? Mandarin in the future. But then there are languages which are difficult, but don't have a lot of payoff, and Serbian is one of them, as are basically all Slavic languages except Russian, I suppose. But so I understand why people wouldn't invest too much time. If you're not naturally predisposed towards learning languages, you are best off learning one that is at least somewhat related to what you're used to. That's why I suggest, for example, to people, if you're a native English speaker, you can go French, but that's even, French is a pretty difficult language, very sophisticated. Italian is rather easy. I'm not saying it is easy, I'm saying rather easy. Easy to learn to read, not too many rules, and it's a very fun one to speak. Like, Spanish is a bit difficult to learn to read because there's like the Spanish way of reading it, and then there's the South American way and Central American way of reading it, or ways of reading it. So it can get a bit complicated at times. German is going to take a lot of investment. You can pick a Nordic language. Those aren't very difficult because their nouns aren't gendered, like in the ones I've hitherto enumerated. So, yeah. Throw the shoe down the well. So my country can be free. Wonder if posh accent is equally concited in all the languages he speaks. Yes. To the best of my ability. Because that's how you learn to speak it. We had to have additional classes in French to learn like common people French. The peasants, paysans. And I could never get used to it. As I said, if I want to speak simple English, I'd have to add additional effort into learning to speak common people English, because almost all my English was through the education system, and they don't teach you to speak in like a parochial, some type of Yorkshire accent. They don't. They teach you the literary form of it, High English or Français soutenu and things like that. So you have to go through additional effort to learn to speak like Français familial. So no. And it annoys me because I listen to French music every so often, and they pronounce something very peasantly, and I'm like, oh, you bastard. And it's not country music. If you play country music or folk music, you can be as informal as you want. But if you're not playing those types of music, you're playing like regular everyday music, I can't bear it. Mandarin won't do it. They are not sons of Japheth, so they won't spread like Europeans. Sorry for nerdy take. Speaking of Islam earlier, and funny beliefs, if you know about Yajuj and Majuj, which are apparently Gog and Magog, there's a description that Gog and Magog, they're like these humanoid creatures that will outnumber the Muslims 999 to 1, and they were trapped. Okay, I won't tell you that part, that's for the guests to react to. But one of the descriptions of them is that they have a shield-like face, small eyes, and they're very numerous. So there were people who thought, who has small eyes and is very numerous? It doesn't say they speak Mandarin, but you can infer that. So you've had a whole apocalyptic view of the Chinese. That's not a common view, by the way. That's why I mentioned it. That's not a common view. Also, they'd have to be trapped behind a giant wall and dig through it every day. So they have the Great Wall of China, but they actually keep it up. They maintain it. They don't try to tear through it. And every night Allah restores it. Have you seen the funny talented English teacher video? Wonder how you would talk if you had that teacher. Indian lady. Oof. Did you see that meme? Like, India is the biggest English-speaking country in the world. Meanwhile, in India, Hi, why are you? You can always learn Hungarian. I was in a relationship with a half Hungarian girl, so I did learn to read it for the fun of it. It's not an Indo-European language, if you didn't know, so it's not technically related to anyone except the Finns, the Finnish language. So yeah. Tudna nekem segíteni? As I said, if you want to pretend to speak Hungarian, pretend to speak Italian but with an Eastern European bent. Tudna nekem segíteni is an actual word. It means can you help me? I think. I may have forgotten that it means can I help you? No, but I think it means can you help me? Do we have any Hungarian speaker who can correct me? But I learned basics like Jana pot and Hungarian's always hungry. They are rather short and rotund, so probably, but they eat a lot of sugar. That is insane. My father is Hungarian. Well, there you go, Liz Antoinette. Can he correct me on the tudna nekem segíteni? Where are you, Guy? Finnish is beautiful. It's fun. Posh, when we'll be seeing you on the whatever podcast? Did you hear me saying that I would probably hang myself there? And trying to get things along in that direction. Uralic also related to Estonian. Just speak like a duck. That's glorious. Do you know the way? Why are you running? When you have time, watch it. Less than 2 minutes, pure fun. Okay, I'll check it out. Okay, let's have another cigarette and close this up. Maybe the whatever podcast is where you'll meet your wife. Okay, sounds like a threat. I heard Brian changes and charges $9,500 for men to be on the podcast. Good Lord. Andrew, what debts have you gotten into, man? Can't confirm nor deny. Stop corrupting Posh. No, you have no idea how bad it would be if I went there. Because Andrew at least tries to have fun with it. I just fall into despondency and probably shatter people's will to live. I have the kind of autism to learn Mongolian just for the cool vertical script. Technically, Mandarin should be, as Japanese was, a vertical script. So from top to bottom and from right to left. So you start on the top right corner and work towards the left bottom corner. But then people realize, wait, you can do things normally. I have the kind of... Oh, sorry, I read that already. Teach the whatever girls Latin. There is a reason why Serbs can't have guns. Legally. Don't Mongols use Cyrillic script now after the Soviets? Stalin basically destroyed a lot of Central European languages, or at least almost destroyed them, which again and forced them to speak Russian, which wasn't some ethnic supremacy from Stalin, because he was Georgian, a certain type of Georgian. a type that can be bracketed multiple times. I heard Hungarian are ogres. Not really, they're rather small people. The girl I was with was like 5'9", and she was like a head taller than most men who are fully Hungarian. Yeah, and they're Hungarians from the Huns. Georgian, exactly. No zero in Roman numerals. Can't say 3 or 4. We'll improvise something. You can say nula. That's how we say it in Serbian. And you can say nihil, like nothing, which is where you get nihilism. Posh, any thoughts on how the direction of the script affects other areas such as art, architecture, and design? Well, art definitely, but you tend to subordinate the script to the art rather than art to the script. Now, obviously, if you're going to have the logographic system like the Chinese languages, that's going to affect things because you're going to have a basic minimum that you would need to do to write things out. You can't have a lot of the things are very contracted in a lot of languages, especially when you need to save as much space as possible. So Church Slavonic has very common abbreviations. French has the circumflex, and the function of which is the circumflex, function of the circumflex as a diacritical mark in French is to show that there has been a contraction of the word, usually an S. So, forêt is forest, bête, beast, or best, or fête, feast. Can't think of anyone off the top of my head now. Those are the 3 I tend to go to. But it tends to mean like there was an S here, but to save space, we sort of use this symbol above the preceding vowel to save space. And that's going to be a lot more common in places where you don't have free, cheap paper. So you have to rely on either whatever type of material you use for paintings, like frescoes or icons or something, or parchment for writing books like Bibles and other things. But you tend to bend the script around the art and the material you have. How tall are you, Posh? 6'1". Mongolian vertical script is based on the Uyghur script, is still used in the Inner Mongolia, but Outer Mongolia uses a modified Cyrillic. They are trying to revert back, though. Mongolians really fallen from the old days because the Chinese aren't too fond of them and dump a lot of toxic waste there. And the Soviets really did them in. But both the Soviets and the Chinese had certain historic grudges that probably played into that. Guessing it affects poetry as well. The writing system, no. Phonetics and morphology, that's what really affects poetry. Because it either gives or diminishes the freedom you have to play with the words, how much you can rhyme, etc. Posh only writes in the Glagolitic script for every language. I like reminding people that the Glagolitz, right, Glagolitza as we call it, was actually invented by Saints Cyril and Methodius, not Cyrillic. Cyrillic was invented by their students, but named after Saint Cyril. So they named it after their master. But yeah, it also looks gorgeous, the Glagolitic script. Muslims paint from left to right. It's why they're forbidden from painting, because they smudge everything. I think you meant to say right to left. Yeah, that's the most common reason why. Like, if you are talking about vertical script, especially like Chinese, like you don't put your hand there and then start writing, right? You have that brush thingy, and you do it from above, right? It's a writing system is like drawing things. But aside from that, even if you're doing like small little things, why on earth, since the vast majority of people, about 85% of people, are right-handed, why on earth would you write from a way in which your palm is going to keep smudging what you've written? That works for Semitic languages. It works for any system that writes right to left. I just don't get it. Like, merely by virtue of pure practice. Beast having a feast in the forest. La bête a une fête dans la forêt. There you go. Mongoloid. How to make a Mongolian mad in one word. Well, Caucasoid isn't going to endear you to a lot of Europeans, so for different reasons, to be honest. Ethiopian lessons when mumble rappers generally don't have a lot of paper lying around, so they try to use less letters when rapping. There are simply types of music that as I said, if I ever become dictator, which is not impossible, I would have a whole slew of things that I would give out for free, and if you accept them, you will disappear in a certain way. Okay? Free dogs. Oh, I love dogs. Tell that to God when you meet him. Posh, do you speak any of the Tolkien languages or Klingon? I never watched Star Trek, so no. As far as Tolkien language, I've learned like phrases like "Boom Chazad," like Axe's dwarves, or Ashna Durbatuluk, Ashna Krimpatul, Ashna Thrakatuluk, Achbur Zumishki Krimpatul. I think. One ring to rule them all, one ring to bind them, etc. Fun stuff, but no, that's the type of devotion that starts to annoy me with people. I don't blame them if it's like an exercise, but like thoughts on Old English. Not too familiar with it, but sounds a lot more Germanic. That's when you know that why English is a Germanic language, because most of the words are from Romance languages, almost all of them French, but there are some Latin ones as well. So that's when you start thinking, but it's so different from like German, but you see how it can be seen as similar to Nordic languages. But when you listen to when you say knight, that's like, okay, whatever. But when someone says Knecht, okay, that's German, all right. Not polite enough. Dr. Crispy Rothschild works and takes Latin lessons for recompense. What does Bulgarian sound like to you? Bulgarian sounds very primitive because it's lost grammatical cases, right? So it sort of sounds like, and we've got 7. So we went one more from Church Slavonic. They went to 1. So it sounds sort of like when you hear a native Chinese person, you say, me go home, me go school, right? I'm not going to say the phrase I wanted to. Right, it just sounds like what? Same with Macedonians. Right, when there's no grammatical cases, like, what are you doing? It sounds like someone has barely started learning it, but that's how it developed. So yeah, it sounds like a massively oversimplified version of what I speak. That's why I said it sounds primitive. There's a form of English known as Anglish, which is purely Germanic English, and it's interesting. I've heard of it, but I haven't investigated it. Because languages go through reforms, and with modern methods of communication, things get standardized. I see a lot of native Brits start pronouncing things in the American manner, especially if it's not a word that's used very often. So they will say urinal instead of urinal, but a urinal is a pretty common thing, right? But they'll say patriot instead of patriot. Things like harassment instead of harassment. So we all live in like a giant America, but on different levels of being gay. Me go pee pee, you coke. He's going to teach you Ainu. Which one is the Ainu? Can't remember. Can you speak Canadian for me? I loathe, for example, Français Québécois. I hate it. It sounds so bloody awful. I don't know. If you want someone who can speak Canadian, Jim Bob does a great Jordan Peterson impression. Vasily Martin, change of subject. Sorry if absolute divine simplicity can't relate to our world of change and multiplicity. Why can it supposedly relate to things in between it and our world, such as angels? No. Who says it can relate to angels? Can't relate to creation. So, because it has to be completely different from everything and not interact with it, it's a very Aristotelian way of thinking, right? So it's not about that matter is somehow inferior to, what the Latins would call quintessence, right? Or at least Thomas Aquinas would, like the fifth essence, like the thing angels are made of. But I don't know what exactly you mean by that. Something like saying because they're above the throne or something? Is that what you mean by it can relate to things in between? Hey, it's Petra Garde. Sigs Fund, thank you very much, Petra Garde. Oh God, I haven't responded to your reels recently. Oh God. We'll get back to you on that later. When I finish this up, I'm going for another cigarette because my fund has been increased, and I'm waiting for the clarification on that previous question. I'm not very good at communication. Like, I'm a very asocial person. And people say, well, you stream. Like, yeah, but it's not the same thing. Have you ever heard Irish Gaelic before? Yes. I've also learned to sing a Scottish Gaelic song, An Élaban, The White Swan, which I'll need to rediscover, re-practice, and then I'll perform it here. It's a gorgeous song. You've got to give it to the Celts. Like, they've got a knack for music. It's glorious. Who does Macedonia belong to? We've had enough ethnic conflict in this chat today. Jordan Peterson speaks rural Western Canadian. From Alberta, which is bigger than Texas. The White Swan sounds like Molly Bawn. That Molly Bawn sounds familiar to me, but I can't remember exactly why. A farmer lived in the North Country. Here when a bunny, he had daughters 1, 2, 3. No, not that one. That's not. That's Bonnie. You have a population density of 5. Shut up and less oil. Population density of 5. Was that Siberia? On a podcast the other night, someone asked, what's the deal with all these Eastern Author guys who are devastating debaters? To be honest, a lot of that can be attributed to Jay Dyer. Because he created this bridge, and including a lot of info. If you remember, Jim Bob was jumping on Jay Dyer's streams, not jumping on like I was jumping on Jim Bob streams, but like had these streams, and he was picking up things very quickly, and it didn't take too long for him to really get into it and really get a grasp and be able to use it in debates. And then he started promulgating it further. Father Deacon Ananias and David Patrick Harry, like all sorts of people who harbor this these very important subjects and traverse them with a lot of levity. And I think that's what happens. It's not one of those, we have to do it or the Satan wins. Why would the Muslim God be able to relate to angels who can then relate to us when the God is nothing like anything created? Surely it can't, is my point, and I'm seeking confirmation on that. Well, they would just say, Allah knows best. He knows how he does things and why he does them. And that's about the answer you get from anything that's a contradiction in Islam. Allah knows best. Who are we to question him? You even have entire commandments like you shouldn't get into philosophy, or that's treason. So yeah, I just put together that if Bulgars, people tend to say Bulgarians. Why is it that people say Serbians when they should say Serbs, but now with Bulgarians you say Bulgars? A simplified Serbian that means that they are really black. Well, why do you think the sea is called the Black Sea? The Bulgarians blacked it up. The Ebonic Sea. But Vasily Martin, to your actual point, they just appeal to mystery. Is it a myth Greek is difficult to learn? No, it is not. It is rather difficult. It's a very, very old language, has gone through a lot of transformation as well, and has decreased in difficulty from like classical Greek, but not by much. So it takes a lot of getting used to it. When we get into Latin as well, the passive voice is something that's going to be shocking to people, because we used to, in Serbian as well, most modern languages, it's done via some type of auxiliary verb and a participle. There you have an entire method of conjugating verbs with the different endings and stuff. Same thing goes for Greek as it goes for Latin. And yeah, also the writing system, the rules for reading can be a bit confusing at times because they're not as clear as they are in classical Greek. But that's what happens with languages. That's why in English, as I say, spelling is a warm suggestion, general suggestion of how you should pronounce the word. We were Bulgars and shit. How much of the original Latin survives? Are there many fluent speakers? Oh, it survives very well, actually. Lot of studies, whether you're talking about linguistics or archaeology. It is also mandatory, for example, in Serbian, you have to go through a year of Latin if you want to go into medicine. I went to it's called a sociolinguistic field, so I had 2 years of it. It's not even purely linguistics, then it's 4. I didn't have the option, but you learn it for that. You learn it for a lot of things, so it survives very well. And not to mention, of course, the entire Catholic Church, although they have ecclesiastical Latin, which is grammatically and stuff very similar. It's mostly a difference in certain constructs which are rather antiquated, and pronunciation is slightly different. We will talk about it on Thursday, because we will be learning common Latin, right? And then I will mention how you pronounce it the urban way and ecclesiastical way. I will just mention it because you need to devote yourself to one. You can then go back and reverse engineer it as I have to learn the other 2 types, but that's no. I will teach you the way I was taught. And because Serbian is so phonetically, I call it staccato, it makes for a good basis for any other type. You don't get all of these legato vowels like you would in Russian, and everything flows into each other, which is great in its own way, but it also tends to color any other language you learn. That's why you do this. Are Romanians the true Romans? Well, they're mixed with the Dacians, so no. But if you play as the Dacians in Rome Total War 1, you get the Volksmen. So that's good news for the Romanians. I think you also get them with the Thracians, but you also get the hoplites and stuff. But that's no fun. Hello, Mike Dornan. Are some languages more efficient or effective for conveying thought than others? Oof. Languages tend to simplify over time because there's this linguistic economy, it tends to be called, which is how quickly you get points across. That often comes at the cost of nuance. So, but ultimately you can say things even with a more analytic language. You can say the same thing with a morphological, although there are going to be fewer points of confusion with more plastic languages, but that's not prohibitive. You can explain things rather easily. So I obviously you have certain traditions. It's more like, Greek has so many terms that we see in light of pre-Christian Greek philosophy that it can be a bit more difficult to pass out how people are using the language. The more language has been used, the more nuances have accrued over time, and then you need to pass those out. But I wouldn't say you get anything worth quantifying. Can you think of a people who are genuinely confused about what nationality they were? That is, they thought and said they were one thing, but they clearly were another. You should watch the Turks getting their DNA results back in the Greek. if you want to figure that one out. Petragarde asks, well, what is the deal with the Proto-Evangelium of James? Is it like the Tall Houses where it is part of tradition but not canon? I am no expert on it, so take what I say with a grain of salt. You you have truth in them, but the thing is that it needs to be verified through other things. It's not like, oh, we can trace it back easily, so we say it's not canonical because it's not part of like the church services, and you cannot say things are canonical. When we say, at Eastern Orthodox, when we say something is canonical, we don't mean it's canonical the way a Protestant would call a book canonical, right? Or apocryphal, likewise, so it's not authenticated to the same extent, but it's still used, which is what apocryphal means. Like, you will hear it means hidden, but it doesn't mean hidden as in like somehow surreptitiously, hidden from view, like he, and lots of hands being rubbed. It means private. So it's not public reading in the church, it is people who read it privately. And here's the thing to remember. It's one thing letting a book be circulated among anyone and then having it circulate among educated people, because you get a lot of truthers, like the proto-truthers of their time, who and if you remember my and Jim Bob's debate with the vegans on Modern Day Debates, like all of a sudden the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of this or that, like, what are you doing, mate? They weren't tossed out because, oh, you see this in Gospel of Thomas says you shouldn't kill dogs or whatever. Right? So the church wanted to have you eat steak for some reason. Right? People try to reverse engineer things from some type of power dynamic, or however they perceive things went wrong. No, it was rejected on certain grounds, like I think the donation of Constantine was rejected because it obviously used Frankish terms in a document that was written by an early 4th century, Greco-Roman emperor. Like, that's the first time it was analyzed by a Catholic priest who was very well educated in linguistics. So you can't think of it, oh, this is a book that we can use as a handbook, because that's not how the Bible was written. It wasn't written to be used as a handbook. Handbooks are written to be used as handbooks. And ancient literature doesn't do that. It functions in a way appropriate for the, how should we say, the availability of literacy, or the widespreadness of literacy, the availability of material, etc. So you're going to write things differently with that in mind, and with modern day, basically total literacy, except for the Bronx. Was it in the Bronx that there was a school that had 0% proficiency in maths and reading and stuff? Just atrocious. But, what do you think of Father Seraphim Rose's Orthodox Survival Guidebook? I don't remember too much of it. But I think even Jim Bob did a review of it or something. But I've not read much from Father Seraphim Rose that I disagree with. But I can't remember. I read it a long time ago. So sorry about Honoré Lacroix. There you go, making me use uvula sounds again with a croix. We had Kreuz, now we have croix, which also means cross, by the way. We're getting a petition to the UN to rename English as Globotong speak. Was this then? Randy West with $2. Thank you very much. Says, a tip just because you like Total War. Oh, I do. It's so many memories. I'm going to perform at some point Divinitus from Total War. Helatorius, Victorialis, Erastus, Necessitas, even though it annoys me that it was obviously not meant to be sung in proper Latin, but with this English Latin, or Englatin, or Langlish, whichever you wish to go by. I have a full Warhammer Total War collection. I don't have a Warhammer Total War. I never got into it because I was always like the 40k person. My favorite is Medieval 2 Total War. Although nothing can replace the original Rome Total War. Rome 2, I'm not too fond of it. This is astounding. Posh could easily pass as an Englishman, and he has never eaten a steak. True. Nor a beef Wellington. Or a shepherd's pie. Some pies and gravy. The shorter the better to globo speak. Oh, it's globo, not glob. Globo tongue speak. Now that I read it from this other angle, it's better. Pieskovica clear. I had one today, actually. Pieskovica. Mud for $5. Thank you. Mud says, how does one say cyclists are the spawn of Satan in ancient Greek? Well, you would have to have a word for Satan in ancient Greek. Sotono. But you're going to have cyclists. I know, have Archimedes, like, apparently, allegedly, his last phrase was when a Roman soldier over there, Syracuse, he was drawing some circles in the sand, and a Roman soldier approaches him, and it's recorded in Latin, like "Noli turbare circulus meus," or "Don't disturb or turbulate or damage my circles," because he was obviously preparing some type of schematic, and the Roman stabbed him. So that's it for old Archimedes. It was designed so middle-aged women could take motivational quotes from scripture and put it in frame for some interior decorating. Yes. Oops, sorry. Rome 1 was good. Medieval 2, nothing like converting all of Europe to Orthodox. Yep. Brazil, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Your name is Brazilian, but it's spelled in Serbian. So, yeah, so you can, if you want to be Orthodox, you can play as Russia or as the Byzantine Empire. If you play as the Byzantine Empire, everyone wants to kill you. So you have the Venetians over there from the west. Hungarians become very dangerous very quickly. The Turks attack you, so you have to be very, very quick in the beginning to start expanding so you can have some type of income. But at least you can establish proper trade. You can establish like a good economy with Byzantine. With the Russians, you don't get attacked as much in the beginning, but you basically have, like Novgorod. You don't have Helsinki. That's like a neutral rebel territory. You've got, I think, 2 cities, and then, or maybe 3, but if I remember correctly, it's 2. And then you have to conquer all the other ones, but the territories are massive, so you have to spend time looking for them. There's no road to indicate anything. I mean, you remember it by heart after a certain while, but and then you start getting into all sorts of troubles with the Poles and the Hungarians, the Danes later on, I suppose. You get Stockholm, and then you get all of the good mining there. You can train proper traders, and by the time enemy traders arrive, you get some experience on them. I don't know if anyone understood what I was saying, apart from a couple of you. The Dutch would like to have a word with you. The swamp Germans. Yeah, they don't know the word computer. Putting together a Warhammer army at the moment. Well, currently, at the moment, I'm fixing my dishwasher. That's a horrible thing to say about your wife. That's such a boomer joke. If you were forced to convert the entire globe to one language, which one would you choose? Depends. Do I convert them and they instantly speak it, or do I have to teach it? Like, do I have to learn it? That's because if it's like instant, like you can snap your fingers and they speak it, then Serbian, and then I speak my hick Serbian, and no one understands me either way. But if not, just damn it. I wanted to say English, but it just won't let me, because that means my people have to start speaking English instead of Serbian. Chase Haggard, what was it? Hagar says, plan going forward is to improve midget meme production exported to Chase by 200%. Oh, God, I'd rather have an MI5, well, I'm not English, so MI6 file, than have the chat with Chase leaked. It's still mostly midgets. Things haven't improved since the last time I mentioned it. I'm wondering which one. Let's say the conversation was instant, no learning curve, but all the other languages are lost. Then Serbian. Sorry, everyone else. This is what we call local patriotism. See, now I said patriotism instead of patriotism. I'm becoming American. Goodness gracious. Tell them Sorbian. Oh, you see, Jim Bob's Shoulders has a knowledge. I don't know if Christian Kreutz is still here, but does he know about the Sorbs? Which sounds like a joke, but they're actually a people that live in mostly Eastern Germany, and a type of Serbs. So Belgium, how the Germans get to France. Do you know that song from Blind Guardian? Never going to get to France. Mary Queen of Chance, will they find you? Apparently that was a song about Belgium. Oh, it's Isabel. Hello, Isabel. Imagine Posh personally teaching the entire world a single language like a dictator. Okay, if anyone could turn to page 73. Oh, goodness. Are Sorbs sober Serbs? Oh, that's a good one. Are Sorbs sober Serbs? No such thing. It's mutually exclusive. It's a logical contradiction. Yes, Dr. Crispy Rothschild, thank you for reminding people about the PayPal, if anyone is willing to contribute. All Joe says, thanks, Bosch and chat. Have a good day. Have a wonderful day yourself, All Joe. They are also a joke. No. Belgium isn't even a good joke. Yes. The Flemish and the Walloons. Fake Germans and fake French people fighting it out. Years ago, maybe even a decade ago, there was supposed to be a trade agreement, like a NAFTA type thing, between the European Union and Canada. And the reason it failed is because by whatever regulation in the European Union, you have to have unanimous consent of everyone. And the Walloon region of Belgium apparently has a separate vote, and it was the only region to refuse it, and that's why the trade agreement failed. You've got to hand it to the French. Like they just, it's impressive how how hard-nosed they are. This is like the third last cigarette I'm smoking before leaving. But yeah, it's time to wrap it up. It's 2.5 hours. I was watching, before I went live, I was watching Jimmy Dore interviewing that Hazaldine fellow. I didn't even get through the whole clip because I started watching too late before going live. And he's such a twit. See, that's what I was explaining about insults. They have to have that poppy, explosive sound, like Twit. Your language choice is usually very precise, but your live stream description says a brief hack. Well, I'm sorry, Isabel, but we got into ethnic insults, and people know my weak spot. That's how girls should approach me. Like, hey, what about the Czechs? Bloody atheist bastards, right? Oh, God. Bosnia, where people decide to fight over. Oof. You have to be very careful. You can trip and land on a landmine. Oh yeah, I was mentioning Hazaldin, and he's defending North Korea. And I'm thinking, I'm mentioning it because it's a pure exercise in, well, it's because they're not part of the global banking system. Okay, and that meme, glorious meme, is the power of Kim Jong-un is that he can turn an entire stadium of people into the Wii Sports background audience just by entering a room, and they just go and jump. Like, okay, you can say what you want. They're being oppressed because they're against the international banking system. Of course, Kim Jong-un went to school in Switzerland, which I'm sure isn't, indicative of anything. It's just him and every other communist dictator after the initial ones who didn't go to school there, but, were supported by the West. But how many times do you have to see the ridiculousness of it just to know that it isn't a normal country? Okay, you can say they're being attacked by the West for not being part of the banking system. Okay. Does that make them good? And he was saying, like, oh, and you can't travel abroad. And that's the point I had to stop to go live. It says, oh no, you can travel, but you have to give, get clearance from the government because you can spill state secrets. That's what they're worried about. Really? Okay, I understand. You would have to get clearance if you're some type of politician or some type of intelligence officer, some secret service functionaire. You're going to get like an average North Korean. He's going to spill state secrets. Utter rubbish. This is why I tell people again and again, don't let what you stand for be a function of what you oppose. You have to have it the other way around. What you oppose has to be a function of what you stand for. Because most people who claim to be like socialists or Marxists, they're not socialists or Marxists, they're anti-capitalists. And that's not the same thing. There's lots of ways to be anti-capitalist, but they were like, oh yeah, Marx said something or other about, surplus theory, surplus value of labor or whatever. So it annoys me. And I talked about this earlier on, and I won't rehash the whole thing. Our Montenegrins are exceptional fighters generally. They're very tall. Like the average height for men is like 6'3". But they're rather lazy. So that's the jokes in like the Balkans. Like the jokes about the Montenegrins is they're lazy. And there's a joke about like there was some foreign filming company, and they had to shoot some things in Montenegro. And there was a guy there, and they just asked him, "Hey, could you sit like under that tree for like what do you call them? Not stagehands, you don't call them extras, like an extra." They start shooting, and the director goes, "Okay, we have to change the scenery. Could you sit under that other tree?" He says, "Well, I'm an actor. I'm not. I'm an actor. I'm not a stunt man." Which sounds completely stupid if you're not saying it in Serbian. Ja sam glumac, nije sam kaskader. So the accent plays into it, the whole thing. Here's one you could get. Why they're so lazy. It says, There was a Montenegrin walking his snail, and another person approaches and says, "Oh, that's a beautiful snail." He said, "I had an even prettier one, but he ran away." That one you can get. Like a Protestant. Oh, sorry, Isabella, I lost track of my thoughts, so I don't remember what is being compared to. Are the French like Protestants? Gary, come home. My superpower back in high school with two of my other friends is we could quote any SpongeBob reference up to that point, and it was still normal SpongeBob, not the new one. And for some reason, all of the Nickelodeon shows were dubbed into Serbian and were dubbed exceptionally well. Like, it was funny. It wasn't done. Most of the things, like when I was taking care of little cousins or something, like the newer, like the Paw Patrol or something, it's dubbed with such a sterile manner that it's like Google Translate, but not incorrect technically. And back then they had something there, and it's a glorious thing to remember. Like me and my friends and my brother and stuff, like we constantly make references back to those old dubs. Oh, being against something instead of for. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. We're not Catholics, and then whatever you dislike, you say, well, the Catholic Church, they worship Tammuz. Okay, yes. Some of those shows were definitely not for kids. Yep. You know that Happy Happy Joy Joy song from Ren and Stimpy, which is probably the peak of not for kids. I will teach your grammars to suck eggs, or whatever it is in English. But the problem is, eggs in Serbian, in slang, it means testicles, like jaja. So it's like, I'll teach your grandmothers to suck balls, basically. And every time that, because it would be like the morning cartoons at weekends, and I would be at this very table eating my breakfast, and whenever that song came on and my grandmother was here, I was like, oh, I need to go to the bathroom. And I go to the bathroom and wait for the song to be over so we can pretend nothing ever happened. Have you sung the Serbian Song of Victory on stream? Song of Victory? What's the Song of Victory? Pobjednička pesma? Pesma pobjede? Can't remember. Kid pooped his pants. I'm back now. Just heard your dishwasher joke. Fast forwarding to catch up. Nice one. Huevos. Yeah. Huevos. And it's in multiple languages. It's sort of like, I think on Jim Bob's stream I was explaining why like in English for a penis use the other word for rooster, but it's not because the rooster is endowed. It actually isn't. Roosters have that little nub that they rub against the cloaca of the chicken, but it's the attitude of roosters. They're cocky, if you will. But in Serbian, we say duck because ducks have disproportionately long penises. So you have these comparisons. Nub. Yeah, I forgot about the whole word, but it is generally a nub. So, as I was saying, if you then translate it, it makes no sense. But I think I talked about this when I was on Jay's channel. Like, Pobedna pesma, forgive me. The one sung by like the children's choir. I don't know it by heart, if that's the one you refer to. I could open it up at some different point. It's past midnight here, so I'm not going to be singing today. But yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Okay. Snook cookies. I will make sure to do it on the next stream or the one after. Actually, the next stream, let's not do it on the Latin stream. What was I saying? Oh yeah, like it also works for like terms of endearment. Like calling someone honey in Serbian makes no sense. Like med. I think in Russia it's mjod. Like med. Like calling someone medu. Like what? Unless the other person knows you're intentionally translating from English for comedic purposes. Mid. That's a good one. They have Russian gubka bob. We say sunjar bob. I think that's from Turkish. Sunjar means sponge. Right. Gubka bob. I did watch like compilations of different dubs for certain scenes, and it's like in 12 different languages, like one after the other. Like the things you see, like Argentinian or Brazilian dub, and it's like someone did it on a flip phone. Gubki gubli. Okay. So yeah, it's an interesting thing to do because, like for example, one very common one to say is sreća, which means joy or happiness, but it sounds like a foreigner trying to sound like, hello, my joy. If I was to say that. Or my soul, dusho. So it works for both terms of affection and for genitals and insults in general. One very common one in Serbian is calling someone a horse. Konju jedan. But it means you're just like stubborn. Although you call them a donkey as well, like Margaret. So yeah. Okay, we're almost at. It's like 2:42, 2 hours 42 minutes, and I'm off. It's like 15 past midnight. I'm not. Have you ever studied generative grammar or syntactic theory? Not that I remember. I don't remember the phraseology. So I know Chomsky had great work on why animals can't learn to speak. It's a very human-centered thing. Like the behaviorists were certain you can teach an animal to speak, like at least one that has sufficient hardware to learn it. But turns out they just don't. Like one of the things that it's very common for human children to do as they're developing, they will speak to themselves. Like they will play and just talk and talk and talk. The chimpanzees or gorillas or things or other animals that were being taught to speak would never speak to themselves. So it's not like a skill set they would pick up and then now use. And there was no evidence showing that they actually got the words. They just got basic, sort of like when you teach a dog to respond to a name. The dog doesn't learn what the name means. It just has a certain sequence of sounds that it reacts to in a certain way. If you say sit, the dog doesn't understand what sitting is. It just knows assume this position. So you don't get a lot of semantic nuance. It's just very simple response, a very simple response mechanism. So I remember reading about that from Chomsky. That's good. Did human speech evolve from grunts? No. speech is something so peculiar, and it cannot be measured. Like if you hear people talk about, like, oh, do you know there are dolphins with dialects? Like, no, there aren't. There legitimately aren't. Like, sure, you can call them dialects as much as we can call artificial intelligence intelligence. It's technically not intelligence. You can call it that. You can call it glibberty-glork, as far as I'm concerned. But it makes it sound more like something more than it is. Like you're going to have a lot of middle-aged, okay, not just middle-aged, but middle-class women going, oh, isn't that adorable? It's simply not true. You can't have animals learning language. They can learn many commands. The more intelligent they are, the development of the prefrontal cortex, etc. You can have capacity, but it's just quantity. You never get the quality of what humans understand, how they understand languages, how you can explain. You can't sit there and explain to a parrot how to conjugate a verb in Latin, because they didn't have the capacity for it. They can learn a lot of things. They can repeat. They can learn simple responses, relatively speaking, simple responses. But you never get like them understanding semantics. I think that's something you were referring to. Can't remember who said it. Oh, snow cookies. Right. Speech evolved from singing. Yes, drunken singing. The only trick posh teaching dog is down and or stay, but it's per minute. Down boy, as in putting down the boy. Have you ever heard the theory that Hebrew or Albanian was the original proto-language? It's prima facie, it's obvious. Modern Hebrew is a con language. Yeah, I have no problem with people trying to reconstruct it, but it's obviously not ancient Hebrew. A lot of it was actually reconstructed through the Greek translations, like through the Septuagint and stuff. So yeah, it's not that difficult to resurrect a language. Sorry, not that easy to resurrect a language. Some things are lost forever because you're not going to have recordings of how people pronounce things. You usually go by like comparison and things. I'm really bad at leaving streams still, so that's a staple of this channel. God is the word, we are made in his image, so words are part of our nature. That's confusing a couple of things. When we say Christ is the word, the logos, we shouldn't take that as like literally like words. It's a much broader thing. But speech is definitely part of it. God spoke things into reality, and being made in the image of God means we also use speech to create or misuse it to destroy or try to achieve some pernicious goal. But I wouldn't say it's part of our nature. Words are part of our nature. Speech is. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Got to jump off, but it was good to see you streaming, Posh. Thank you, Petra Garde. I'll be jumping off myself. I heard Gary Glitter sing, "Do you want to be in my gang?" before I spoke. Good Lord. Gary Glitter. Posh, it's been a while since I've talked to you. Be well across the realm. Thank you, Rethink Incorporated. There is no word for toes in Spanish. Same in Serbian, Ado. You basically, and here's the thing. Do you have hand fingers and feet fingers, or do you have feet toes and hand toes? So you don't have a separate word for fingers that are on your feet and then fingers that are on your hands. You just use a qualifier. Okay. In the beginning was the word. There is something in this. Absolutely. I'm just saying words are part of our nature is a bit of a misnomer. It has implications if you use it in that phrasing, like our nature. DC Woodworking is here. Bosch missed the stream. Hope you aren't gone too long next time. No, we are back on Tuesday about some like truther etymologies. And then on Thursday, we're starting Latin. Phalanges, yes. Although technically phalanges are like the parts of your fingers. More like digits. Okay. Thank you everyone for being here for this brief stream, which is almost 3 hours long, but we had good fun, so it's great. Thank you everyone who donated, both through Super Chats and through PayPal. Again, you can support in that manner if you'd like. And we will see each other again on Tuesday with truther etymologies. Christ is risen. Indeed, he is risen. Be well, everyone, and God bless you all. And as I said, see you in 2 days. Bye-bye.